Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise, this is Rich with your Witchy Book Club series. We are going through the book Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig. We are on lesson 6. You can get your copy, sans the dog chewing experience, on Amazon. Unfortunately, Tonks, while I had my book sitting out the other day, Tonks went ahead and altered my book for me. So yeah, I was quite upset about that, but she's in a little bit of a chewing phase. I don't know why, but it's not because they don't have a lot of dog toys to chew on, but yeah, apparently they just wanted a taste of magic. So anyway, yeah, you can get your copy by clicking the link down below. While you are down there, go ahead and click the link for being a Patreon patron. Thank you to our Patreon patrons, Sophia, Linda, and Tyler. Thank you very much. The funds from that go towards starting the church here on YouTube for our Christo-Pagan viewership, as well as other people in the broader pagan community. So yeah, a non-religious specific kind of witchy and yeah, very inclusive, if I do say so myself, whenever that gets up and going. If you would like to support this channel and that endeavor for as little as $5 a month, you can click that link down below and help support this endeavor. If you would like to get something back for your money, you can support me as an individual by clicking the eBay link down below. That takes you to my eBay store, and that helps run the household and keep the lights on and whatnot. If you do not have the funds to support this channel, that's fine. You can support it in other ways. Click that subscribe button right down there. If you've already done that, hit that bell notification so you get notified whenever new videos come out. If you've already done both of those, hit that like button. And, you know, that helps appease the algorithmic gods of YouTube. All hail the algorithmic gods of YouTube. If you've done that, hit up the comments down below. Tell me what I missed or did not talk about, or something that you agree or disagree with regards to this lesson. Also, any questions are always always welcomed. We had an individual asking uh, about Annie. Jeez, names were escaping me there for a second. And that's how that video got made, and I reached out to Annie and all that. If you haven't seen that video, go back a couple videos. It's there. Um, and Annie also did comment on that, so if you want to know all the particular details, that is all in that comment section. So yeah, if you've done all of those things already, and if it is safe for you to do so, do share this video to those of like-minded individuals on your social media platforms. With all of that stuff out of the way, wow, 3 minutes for that. Geez, Rich, get your crap together. Let's sit on back, relax. I'm gonna just pop open a nice refreshing Pepsi. Not sponsored. Pepsi, America's best. Anyway, not sponsored. Pepsi, if you want me to hawk your shit, just let me know. I'll do it. I'll do it, seriously. Anyway, here in a little bit, in about 10 minutes or so, my alarm is going to go off. We're just going to ignore that and pass on by that. If I can edit it out or, click the pause button or whatnot, we will do that. So, let's get into Lesson 6 of Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig. Have your copy available so you can read along with me and see what you agree or disagree with. In our grandest of traditions, we are starting with the first sentence of the first paragraph, or first couple sentences of the first paragraph, to see how it really sets up the entirety of the chapter. So, Lesson 6. In the last 3 lessons, we have been examining the archetypal magical elements. In this lesson, we will continue the pattern by studying the last of the 4 elements, fire. Okay, it overall kind of, at least for the first part, kind of gives us a basis of where we are going to start. It doesn't give a good synopsis of the entirety of the chapter, but he does have these in separate parts. So yeah, if I were to go back and do this series again, I would separate those into those separate parts and address each one of them and how it reflects overall on the entirety of everything. But we shall move on. I think it does a great way of setting up for lesson 6 part 1. My first note that I have is on page 204, which reads, "A magician must never take his or her actions lightly, especially when they influence or might influence the lives of others." I agree with this. I don't think that that we should just stunt ourselves and not progress in our learning and our magical abilities to uh, progress to greater magical outcomes. However, I think we do a great deal of the time need to sit back and hold on. I'm sorry about this. Hold on. I'm getting a text message from the DNC. Yeah, they're always sending me money, sending me or text messages asking for money. Wow, come on, Rich, get your act together. Anyway, I don't think this should be something that we fear so much of encroaching on other people's will that we actually stunt ourselves in the process. I think that overthinking things a little too much really kind of stunts our abilities and really makes us not want to do magic because we might end up affecting somebody else's life. However, if we take the opportunities of, sitting there and really thinking through things before we actually do them and not just doing a spell off the cuff, we can mitigate the instances of when we actually uh, we end up encroaching too much on somebody else's will. Now, that isn't to say that thinking things through and all that will never affect somebody else's will. It's always going to affect somebody else's will. In anything that we do, if we, let's say, let's see something innocuous, not innocuous, innocuous, such as a self-love spell or ritual of some sort. If we do something that boosts our self-love or our own self-esteem, fantastic, great, cannot be happier for you for living your best life, for being your best self. However, in us being the better versions of ourselves, other people will perceive us in different ways. Therefore, I think it is correct in stating that if we do even the most mundane type or an innocuous type of spells on face value, it can and will affect other people's lives because it's going to affect how they look at us, how they feel about us, the type of vibes that we give off, the type of day that they end up having because of the vibes that we give off. It's going to be a ripple effect that does occur. So I don't think that any of the spells that we put forth or that we do, any workings that we do, are totally innocuous. So yeah, I don't think that's a thing. And I think it's just with a lot of thought and consideration as to how much we choose to encroach on another person's life that is really the underlying value here whenever it comes to what we do and do not perform as part of our rituals or spellcasting. So I do agree with him here of don't take it lightly. Don't, do a couple flicks of a wand and throw energy every which way and think that it's all okay. No, you will affect somebody's life in one way or another. And that can even be said because there might be some people out there watching this that say, well, then I just won't do magic, period. Well, that can be the same thing as if you say a prayer for somebody. If the prayer is answered, as prayers are supposedly often answered, in accordance with will of the divine, then, you've affected change. You've done magic. So, who are you to, take that prayer life less seriously than doing a spell? So yeah, I can kind of get wrapped around the axle of this, and I can probably talk a lot longer on this, but I think just thinking through your actions and sitting down with the ritual before you perform it and really thinking through all of the steps and everything and knowing the why behind what you do, as we learned from Annie, one of our great teachers out there, I think goes a long way into what we perform and how we perform it, and the actions that we have or the effects that we have on other individuals. I'm If you see me looking down here, it's because I'm looking at the clock to make sure that I catch a pause just in time for hitting the stop button on my alarm. I could have turned it off, but it's one for work, and I'd rather not, just because I will forget to reset it. Anyway, my next note is on also on page 204, and he states, just as real magicians use various words of power, calling on higher spiritual entities or working with the strength of vibration, so, too, do stage magicians use such words. Of course, they mistakenly imply that just saying the word will have some sort of effect, and I hope that by this time you realize that's not true. However, that's a different discussion. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick here because I do want to catch this alarm so it doesn't come through on the audio. Okay, so the alarm went off. We're all good now. The reason that I picked this paragraph here, this small little paragraph, is because it's actually something that I've been thinking about throughout the this last week or so. Currently, I am coming up with a sort of prayer book, spell book type of setup. And one thing that I'm doing is I'm going through different holy books, if you will. So I have one on Judaism and some of the rituals and prayers said throughout the stages of life for Judaism. I have one obviously for Christianity. I have the blessings book of the Roman ritual. I have several Catholic missals and prayer books, and I just have books galore. And my thing is, I want to take those and use those as, put them in a Christo-Pagan sense. And my one thought whenever I was doing this and when I was gathering all these things up and everything is I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, what about the situation where you don't call on deity and you want something to just happen? And my thought was, well, that's a spell. Okay. If it is a spell, does it really matter the words that you say? And for this instance, does it matter even for a prayer, the words that you say? What in particular is special about the words in the way that they are constructed and the way it is said and the way it is performed for, let's take for instance the blessings book, the Roman ritual blessing book. What is it specifically with that you, I mean, they have a prayer for molten metal to being that is to be used for casting a bell. They have a blessing for molten metal. Okay, so I mean, there's some detailed crap in there. What is so special about that in particular prayer, that blessing, versus a blessing that is put on an individual or a blessing that is put on a church bell itself? What is the difference? And if you do the blessing while it's molten metal and then it's cast into a bell, does that blessing transfer? And there's a lot of questions, and I went Googling crazy, and there's not really any answers to these questions. So I mean, to me, the words themselves don't matter nearly as much. Words are something that whenever you find the right words and they pour off your lips and everything, it is actually quite beautiful to listen to. It's quite beautiful to enact it in that way, that shape, that form. Especially if you have all the grandeur that goes along with it, it is fantastic. But there's also something to be said about the simple act of picking up something and just holding it, and knowing that you are putting that energy in there, that you are giving it an intent, that you are consecrating it through the pure act of you touching it, that you have blessed and consecrated that item. So, and I just grabbed my holy stone because it was sitting there. Nothing in particular with that action, but you get what I'm saying. There's nothing particular that has to be said. It is the intent that is put into it, the energy that is pushed into it, that makes it what it is, makes it blessed, makes it holy, makes it consecrated for an intended purpose. Do the words really matter? No, but it's fantastic whenever it is said in a certain way. It is just poetry that just I it's ineffable to try to describe this. The feelings that it gives you whenever you have just the right words. Y'all probably know what I mean. Whenever it comes to poetry, whenever you just hear something so eloquently put, it is just absolutely divine. Anyway, I wanted to go on a little tangent on that one. Let's move on to page 213. I will say after this, I don't have that many more notes because, yeah, it goes into a lot of the ritual aspect. I do have some, though. On page 213, he says, "There will come a time when you will have to decide if the magical path is correct for you. If you choose the magical life, you will find that huge vistas of non-physical experience will be opened to you along with the love of divinity showering upon your head. But most people in this world, no matter their professed spiritual beliefs, are diehard materialists at heart. They cannot keep up with you because they will either fear to do so or refuse to do so. As a result, you will find yourself drifting away from some friends and loved ones. This can be very painful. But those who follow spiritual, magical paths must go their own way." Something that I have here as part of... I didn't actually write down the note, but the reason I underlined this was because this happens no matter what. This happens with the individuals no matter what, because they will either be interested in what you're doing or they're not going to be interested in what you're doing, and they just depart. You drift further and further away. Does that mean that if family members or friends don't share your love of the occult, does that mean that you need to cut them out? Absolutely not. This is not the type of life that, you need to hermitize in order to be fruitful with it. This is not a monkhood here, or a monk's vow of silence or anything, that you need to sit in a little room or in a little cave and just read your spell books over and over and never do anything else. We're not contemplating our navels the rest of our life. This is something that we do in tandem with life. And I think that needs to be noted, that, just because some people don't get it doesn't mean that they need to leave your life. Doesn't mean that they will necessarily depart, that you need to cut ties. No, it just means that you think about spirituality differently. Now, if you have a hardcore evangelical type of family, this might be something that ends up happening, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit, because I do know that I have that marked off. So yeah, I don't think taking people out of your life is necessarily something that has to happen when it comes to you studying the occult and whatnot. Moving on. Let me just pause real quick because Jelly's at the door. I tried calling her before I started filming, and she didn't come down. but she's here now. Okay. She has a tendency to hide, like for the majority of the day. Usually whenever I'm at work or whatnot, she's like totally like hidden for the entire day until I get home. But yeah, oop, I'm sorry, I moved her kitty condo over a little bit right as she was climbing up, and she did a kitty fail. It was cute. Should have gotten that on recording. Anyway, let's move on. To page 214. The tablet of union represents the fact that your altar functions as the place where the four magical elements meet, come together, are united. Okay. Um, for most of us, that would be the Patron in the center of the ritual space. I have and y'all have seen it before. I've shown it before. It is one that is brass. Actually, it's probably stainless steel covered in a gold um, type of paint. Anyway, I have that, and I use that as my Patron in the center of my altar space. For most of us, that would be what it is, the pentacle that we have in the middle section. To me, having this little box kind of square thing, yeah, this little rectangle thing, I'm not really a huge fan of it. It's words that don't necessarily correlate to me. The different hold on, let me get my words together here real quick. They are words that don't necessarily correlate to me, the different directions, the different elements and whatnot. So yeah, it's not something that, because it is Enochian, it doesn't necessarily, ring for me that, hey, this is the name of the spirit of air and whatnot. No, that's not really how that jives with me. So I definitely will not be using that. I'm sorry. The next thing I have is the Watchtower Ritual. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire ritual because the rituals in here are long and daunting and very wordy. However, I do have a note here about actually all of the rituals that are included in Lesson 6, which are a lot. There's a ton of rituals, and because I don't usually speak on rituals, because everybody's going to do their thing differently, yeah, I don't have that much to say in this lesson, but I do like the incantations here. The one thing that I don't like is, for me, it is a lot of different actions, because at least it seems like you got to do the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, the hexagram, the this and the that, and walk around this way 3/4 of the time. Well, not that last one I made up. Bounce on one leg, it doesn't matter, but it seems like it's very, very involved. And for me, as somebody likes to pare down his ritual to the essentials, um, even if you want to have something more of a ceremonial, in a ceremonial way, this is even over the top, even for me. Like, Roman Catholics would look at this and be like, damn, that's wordy. It's a very involved step-by-step instruction, and it's just, I mean, there's a lot here, but the incantations are fantastic. They are great, the vast majority of them, and I do like the way they are worded. It is absolute poetry to me, and I will be using them in some way, shape, or form, even if I have to reword them a little bit here and there to use them for what I need. So yes, you can see that in the future happening for me. On page 220, he says, some people claim that the reason Aleister Crowley was unsuccessful in his lifetime was because of errors he may have made when doing the Enochian calls form of this magical system. Now, my gosh, I hate whenever people spread rumors like this. To me, like, what's the worst that's going to happen is your magic's not going to work. Seriously, that's the worst that's going to happen. Um, if you are going through and you're not vibrating correctly with the words, it's just not going to work. I don't think that some demon is going to come up from hell and then swallow you and your entire household into a sinkhole. No, that's not how this stuff works. The most that's going to happen is nothing. And the other side of that is the best thing that's going to happen is what you need to have happen. That's why I'm more about the intent rather than the words, because if you say, you know, uh, have this bring me success, the worst that's gonna happen is it's not gonna work. The most that's gonna happen is, as far as in the positive sense, if it does work, then it's working fine, fantastic. Or it may not work as effectively if you didn't get it just right, but I think that putting the intent in there rather than saying the words is a big thing. Plus, what about those people that can't talk? What about those people that can't speak, that can't make sounds, or that are deaf that can't hear sounds? Again, we need somebody who is writing these books. Please, somebody out there who is an author more skilled than me, please, because I can never get out of my own way of writing something. Please write something for the handy capable out there, because I am tired of this ableist bullcrap. Anyway, we're moving on. Again, I have a note for the Consecration of the Rainbow Wand. Good invocations. I like that. The incantations that he has in here are fantastic. I love them. Again, very wordy, but what you gonna do? We're going to move on here to page, to page 233. And I want to focus on the ritual of the magical obligation. Pepsi, get at me. I will hawk your shit. Anyway, the magical obligation. I have here that there are some good parts and some bad parts. Good parts being, I promise to treat all people with equality, no matter the color of their skin, the religion of their parents, or the gender of their flesh. I will not slander, I will not lie, I will not spread rumors. Fantastic. Great. I cannot agree more. I think that is something that is a great oath, great obligation to have. However, some things that I have here, one of my hangups here, is, and I'm gonna have to find it here, and it is actually the paragraph right before it, which says, "I further most solemnly pledge never to work at any important magical task without first invoking the highest divine names connected therewith." I don't have issue with that. If that's what you do, you do. But for those who don't necessarily have divinity included in their practice, then yeah, how are you going to be part of that obligation? Also, I'm one that I don't necessarily always include deity in my magical workings, because you know what? They have enough to do. They don't need to sit there and help me with a spell to have better self-love or whatnot. Doing my own workings and putting my own effort into it is going to be good enough. The problem I have here is not with this next part. I especially pledge not to debase my knowledge of practical magic or purpose, or to purposes of evil and self-seeking. Okay, I lied. I kind of do have a problem with that. That's an objective thing, because if I do a ritual that somebody else might see as evil, I think it is completely justified. Self-seeking, where do you draw the line? I know it has to be somewhere, but where? and if you're taking an obligation of um, nothing self-seeking, everything is self-seeking. So you can't really, you see what I'm saying? You can't really say an oath, an obligation to something where you have obvious faults with the wording. There have to be hard lines of where you draw that line. Um, I have a problem with this part. If in spite of this pledge I do so, then I invoke the avenging angel Hua, that the evil may react on me. So basically, please punish me until I do better or until I've learned my lesson. I have issue with that. Um, you know, again, whenever things are done in in a way that is incorrect, or I shouldn't even say incorrect because that would be the wrong wording for it, or in the wrong moral way, karma's going to out. For one, karma will get you one way or another, whether it happens in this lifetime, the next lifetime, the following lifetime after that. um, you know it will eventually catch up to you. So it is in your best interest to do the best things possible to try to negate the chances of you doing something evil. And if you have to do something that's a little bit more painful and it's going to help a lot more people than it hurts, do it. I think we also kind of have an obligation to help others whenever we have situations such as that, where somebody is in a dire situation. I think we kind of have an obligation to step up and help these individuals at that time. So yeah, I have issue with that, with the obligation here and there. I will say that I would put certain parts of that obligation into into an obligation that I would take. And I would challenge individuals out there who are watching this: if you have not ever taken a magical obligation to yourself or to the divine, I would encourage you, if you like this one, fantastic, go with it. If you are not jiving with this one entirely, come up with your own. Record that in your book of shadows. Um, you know, write that down, because that is something that you will come back to. And if you don't, you should come back to it yearly and sit there and say, have I followed this obligation? Have I done what I set out to do, or what I said I was setting out to do? And if I have faltered in this part or that part, you know, how can I change that for the future? Because I can't change the past, but I can certainly change how I react in the future. So, yeah, let's all write our own obligation and then keep to it and have that written down as a record, and then we can sit back and year after year and say, did I follow this obligation? And heck, you can even do it monthly. Go back and look at it, say, did I keep all the points? It's like taking an oath of office. Did I keep all the parts of my oath of office true? Did I do everything I was supposed to? Did I act in the way that I was supposed to with regards to this oath? Some people don't. We're going to talk about those in just a minute, because we're coming up to page 234 in the paragraph of religious fanatics. Now, or in the section of religious fanatics. I'm not going to read through the entirety of this, because I think y'all know some people like this. I used to be one of them. Maybe you were too at one time. But the more and more I read this, the more and more I, especially in the part where he talks about, and I'm reading this as a quote, don't at me. They don't have money because Jews gypped them out of it. Gypped comes from the word gypsy. Here is another minority group unfairly depicted in modern English, or else blacks, or more recently, Mexicans took all the jobs. It's always someone else's fault. And my one note that I have on the entirety of this, The section 2 is Republicans. And I don't want to get too political, but there are so many individuals, televangelists and whatnot out there, and so many people who are running for office who are on this far right spectrum, that everything is the illegals coming in, everything is this or that. And I don't want to go too political on this, but you know what, I have something to say here, and it's my platform. I'm gonna say it. Screw it. Because whenever Syria was getting bombed, Aleppo was getting bombed, we heard how many people out there at the freaking airports saying, "Don't come in this country. Oh my gosh, they're just going to be terrorists coming into this country," when they were vetted and whatnot. And we heard the same thing whenever Afghans were coming over, saying, "Not in my country. No, they're going to come over. It's going to be mass chaos, and they're going to terrorize us and blah blah blah, all that stuff." I take issue with that, as somebody who has served in the land of the free, the home of the brave, that type of thing. I take issue with saying that somebody cannot come into this country because you fear that they might be terrorists, even though they've been vetted and everything else. I take issue with that, because the same opportunities should be available to them that are available to you. This whole, they're coming in, taking our jobs. No, they're not taking your job. They're taking the jobs you don't want to do. And quite often for less than minimum wage. So, no, they're not taking your jobs. And a lot of the people who are taking those lesser than minimum wage jobs work their fucking ass off. So, yeah, you know what? Give them some credit. They're trying to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, which Republicans love, and all that shit. They can just go eat rocks for all I care. But we also have these same individuals who were sitting there all against Syrian refugees, that are all for welcoming people from Ukraine. A little bit different whenever they're white, huh? When they look like you, huh? Yeah, just a little bit fucking different. It pisses me off. Yeah. Really irritates me, especially since my family's from Syria. Yes, I look very Eastern European, or no, Western European. I'm sorry, Eastern Europeans. No, that's not me. I'm primarily Western European looking. From the UK and whatnot, the British Isles mostly. But yeah, I have family from Syria. One of my family members still has a dual citizenship with Syria. Yet you wouldn't allow somebody like him to come into this country, but you'll let somebody from Ukraine. Not that I'm saying Ukrainians should not be allowed in this country. Not saying that at all. But I think there's a stark difference between the color of their skin and the religions that they hold. And yeah, definite bias there with the individuals, mainly with an R. But we also have televangelists who are starting up the whole satanic panic of the 1980s, 90s, and whatnot. Recently, there was a pastor, Greg Locke, I believe it was, and one of y'all posted in the comments before about it, and I do thank you. And I actually did hear about that before, and I need to start doing special reports on those, because the Republican Party has become a cult of Trumpism and conspiracy theories and never listening to truth. So, and they're running for office. Jelly, come here. Come here. Come here. Come up here. She's over at the door, just like pawing at it and whatnot. No, she can stay in here for now. Anyway, let's move on. That was a little bit of a heated discussion. I did not mean to get that heated and get that worked up. I do apologize for that, but it's something that I needed to say, and gosh damn it, I'm gonna say it. And that's probably the most amount that you've probably ever heard me swear in a single video, because it irritates the hell out of me. Yeah. Let's move on. The next thing that I have here is on the section 3, the materialist skeptic debunker. And I just have a simple note. I don't understand these people, because some of them get their kicks by saying, ooh, you can do magic? Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Well, if you can't, then you can't do real magic. It's like whenever somebody says, oh, you're psychic? What am I thinking? You know, it's like, okay, usually you're thinking about sex, just because you have a human brain. You're either thinking about sex or money, most likely. So, yeah. And if you're somebody who has anxiety, you're probably thinking about existential dread and you know, how many ways that you can die between here and walking to your car. Not to mention the amount of times that you can die in your car, and the different ways that that can happen. Yes, you're thinking of Final Destination if you're somebody with anxiety. Anyway, you're basically living in one of those, you know, those movies. You know, everywhere you turn, there's death trying to get you. But you know, these individuals here who are the skeptic debunkers and whatnot. Yeah, you know what? Screw off. Because I ain't got time for you. You want to talk about religion and spirituality and whatnot? Yes, I'll talk religion and spirituality. However, if you're going to sit there and you're going to, you know, say, ooh, you think that crystal's going to do something for you? No, no. I don't need you in my life. Goodbye. We're done. So yeah, I definitely don't like those people, and I don't understand what kicks they get by, you know, making fun or whatnot. And again, I can probably say at one time I was pretty much one of them, because yeah, I can remember distinctly some things I used to say, and now I'm one of those people I made fun of, and yeah, not really my proudest moments. I was kind of a dick. Yeah. But anyway, that's all that I have for sharing about my previous life before YouTube and before you know, starting this practice of witchcraft, and how it's changed me throughout the years and made me a better person into the wonderful specimen of human being that I am today. But that is the end of the lesson 6. A little bit shorter of a video, and yeah, I'm okay with that. Um, I didn't really like the questions only you can answer on this one as much. They're not as thought provoking on certain things. So yeah, I have nothing really big to say on that one. But yeah, other than that, that was lesson 6 of Modern Magic by Don Michael Craig. Again, if you go into the bottom bar or into the description below, you'll get one with sans the bites and damage and whatnot. Anyway, yeah, this is becoming a very well used book. Anyway, that's all that I have for this our witchy book club series. Saturday. Wow, I'm quite exhausted now, and I still have 2 more videos. I gotta do next week's videos as well, so I don't have to worry about them, and I can get some extra work done on eBay and another little project that I'm doing on the side that will have hopefully happen towards the end of the year. A community involving event that will happen towards the end of the year. So yeah, something that I'm going to do to help raise money for the church, and you know, getting that church up and running, and you know, all that good stuff. No, I'm not stripping. We're not turning this into OnlyFans, which is another thing that I could get really upset about. Not the fact that OnlyFans exists, but what OnlyFans is trying to do, because they can't get financing and whatnot. You know, taking away from what it was actually intended to be, which was a safe place for people who would like to sell what they have. Yeah, their bodies. And I don't have any problem with that. I just have an issue with taking a site down that doesn't, or that was intended to do certain things and then saying that they can't do those things. That was your whole thing. Anyway, I have issues with that. I have a lot of different things that I have to vent about, and yeah, I should probably start doing some special report videos to actually air out those grievances. Or I'll just sneak them into these videos at the end whenever all of you are still watching, and and then you can comment saying, "I agree." Yes, if you agree, let me know down below. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye.